In the Five Nights at Freddy's series, Candy Cadet serves as the cryptic storyteller whose tales offer glimpses into the deeper lore and hidden tragedies. Each story told follows a distinct narrative pattern. He introduces a central event, briefly outlines key characters, skips over time, and concludes with a new piece of information for the story. Analyzing the clues used by Candy Cadet delivers for each story sheds light on the series with hidden meanings behind his words. This video will be my breakdown of those 5 stories.
Now I will tell you a story about a young woman who was sealed in a small room. In the room was a furnace, and 5 keys. She was told that each of the 5 keys would unlock one of 5 doors outside her room. Inside each room was a child that she could take with her as she fled the building. But she was only allowed to leave her own room with 1 key, not all 5. Desperate to find a way to save all 5 children, the woman melted the 5 keys together in the furnace to create a single key, hoping it would unlock all 5 doors. Of course, it did not work that way. Now her key opened none of the doors. Rather than leaving her room with a key to 1 life, she had taken with her the key to 5 deaths.
The young woman in this tale is Charlotte, Emily, daughter of Henry and the one connected to the puppet. This self-imposed caretaker to the children has been contained within her small room, the puppet's box, a small container in which she must remain trapped by the lullaby playing for her. Charlotte is given 5 keys, each represented by a gift box, a symbol tied to the 5 children from the birthday party in Foxy Cove in 1985. While most would interpret the 5 keys being unique to 5 unique doors, that is not how I read it. Each key, or gift, corresponds to the opening of one particular door, the means in which one particular child's soul is locked away. This door can only be opened if the key or gift is given to the correct child. The keys are interchangeable, but not the child. Charlotte is told she may leave her sealed room with only 1 key. Only one of the 5 children, the birthday girl, holds the potential to free the others. If she uses any key and gives the correct gift to the correct child, all 5 doors will open. If Charlotte chooses correctly, salvation is possible for all. Overcome by grief, love, and the fear of making the wrong choice, Charlotte attempts to cheat fate. She melts all 5 keys in the furnace to forge a single master key, believing that with it she can unlock all 5 doors at once and save every child herself. But this is a miscalculation. The keys were designed for only 1 lock. By combining them, she destroys their purpose. The new key is corrupted. It's not recognized by the other doors. Charlotte has unknowingly sealed the fate of all 5 children. The truth of the tale is this. There was a correct answer. One of the children, Cassidy, was the birthday girl. As we hear this from the survival logbook, the party was for me. She was the intended recipient of the gift. Had Charlotte given the gift to Cassidy, she would have become the reasons the others could be freed. But Charlotte chose wrong. This story is of how one wrong choice made for the right reasons can still result in failure. The gift never reached the girl it was meant for, and for that, the door remained shut. Because when the birthday girl receives her gifts, the party can come to a conclusion and all the birthday guests can move on. Until then, the children couldn't remember concluding the party, therefore they all stayed for their happiest day. Within the story Return to the Pits, Oswald is escaping with the 5 children who were captured by Spring Bonnie. While close to the exit, the children wanted cake. Forced to alter his plans of escape, they sat down and enjoyed their cake, a birthday cake. Once the birthday girl and her guests had their cake, the party was over. Spring Bonnie was defeated, and the children were free. Gifts, cake, both symbolized the end to a birthday party.
Now I will tell you a story. A story about a kind man who would visit 5 orphans and bring them toys and gladness. The man lived alone, and lived in fear that someone might break into the house of one of the 5 children, so he adopted all 5, and brought them together in one place, in his own home. He promised them to never leave them, and they promised to always come home, and never stay out too late. He left one day to buy food, his heart being filled with gladness, but returned to find that the burglar had chosen his home, and killed all 5 of the children. The man could only afford 1 coffin, so he stitched the 5 bodies together to make one, and buried the child. That night, there was a knock at the door.
The kind man in this tale is Henry Emily, father of Charlotte. now living alone, following having left Charlotte in the care of her Aunt Jen. His own home is his place of residence, the Circus Baby rental facility, possibly the former location for both Murray's Costume Manor and Afton Robotics. Clues left in the game's sister location include blueprints available with the title HRY223. Henry fears a break-in at his residence of 1 to 5 children. Although orphans don't typically have houses, this I suspect is the clue that the house is named after one of the children. The facility is likely named after an animatronic, likely Circus Baby. The one intended to do the breaking in is likely William Afton. Henry's heart is filled with gladness as Mike Afton has returned. Now grown up and ready for work as the night guard, Henry hasn't seen him since 1983. This follows Mike's actions resulting in the bite of 83. Henry's involvement, or lack thereof, for Mike and his friends and the younger Afton brother is a reality. Henry had his part to play. The story the week before gives us the recording of Mike crying child and an unnamed man who calls for restraint around the bear costume on stage. This, I suggest, is Henry's role as co-owner of the diner. Henry returns to find the animatronics broken. Henry picks up the pieces. He puts the remains in a single container, then disposes of the remains in the alley for trash collection. Believing this to be over, a knock at the door is heard. This story is of how good intentions at the sacrifice of a kind man's connection with his daughter can still result in failure. The trust given to the returning teenager, whom Henry had not helped, Mike, had disrupted Henry's plan to wait for William's return. The knock at the door was likely Mike's return, following his scooping and release. Mike returned for help from Henry. Who else could he go to? Who would understand? Pizzeria Simulator would be the event where the two would finally work together.
Now I will tell you a story about a little boy. He had a red snake that he kept in a metal cage, whose hunger could not be satisfied. One day, the boy found 5 baby kittens outside his house. He brought them inside and kept them in a shoebox. He knew that the snake might kill them, but could not bring himself to get rid of the snake. He knew that if he chose one kitten to feed to the snake, it might be satisfied, but he could not choose. So, he went to bed, leaving the cage open. The snake went to the shoebox, chose a kitten at random, and ate it. After 5 nights had gone by, the boy was full of regret, and cut snake open. He pieced the remains together, and put the kitten back into the shoebox.
This one was harder to decipher, although the snake in this tale I think is Spring Bonnie or Springtrap. Described as being kept in a metal cage, this clue doesn't work with real snakes, as either glass or similar is needed for the reptiles. The religious imagery for snakes resembles that of the serpent, as a symbol of evil power and chaos from the underworld, as well as a symbol of fertility, life, healing, and rebirth. The mentions of leaving the cage open have me think of the parts and service door open. The little boy for this tale is William Afton. The event is the missing children's incident. Before the investigation from Deputy Burke, William is a co-conspirator with the haunted Spring Bonnie costume. His comings and goings throughout the week hints at his role as a security guard. This position is mentioned by Phone Guy in the first game.
You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right? Think about, our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. Okay, well anyway.
Leaving the cage open is a metaphor for letting evil act freely while pretending to remain innocent. By choosing to do nothing, William allows the tragedy to happen. The kittens are represented as the food source for the snake. These innocent individuals can be connected with the night as the boy decides to go to bed following his rounded up and containing of the kittens in a box. The imagery of a box is similar to the plans we get from Pizzeria Simulator. The box, an idea of a labyrinth of sound and smells, misdirection and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. After 5 nights, a direct reference to the game's structure, William is consumed by guilt, or perhaps the fear of the consequences. He attempts to undo what has been done by cutting the snake open, a metaphor for opening up Springtrap or trying to confront the crime. The need for Springtrap to conduct such crime is not William's plan. The final act is William trying to clean up what he had destroyed, but the damage is irreparable. The shoebox representing the restaurant, many hidden rooms, vents, and spaces where the children would remain hidden. This conclusion is that regret comes too late and is self-serving. William shows regret, but only after the damage is done. His remorse may not even be for the victims, but for the consequences he now faces. This aligns with how Afton later in the series tries to undo death using Remnant, motivated by guilt, not redemption.
Now I will tell you a story about a mother and her little boy who lived alone in a cabin in the dark woods. There was a monster in the woods, but the mother caught it and kept it locked in the basement. The monster always made scary noises at night, but the mother would tell the boy not to worry because it could never get out. Then she would sing the boy a lullaby to sleep. One day, the monster stopped growling and instead listened and learned the lullaby. The next day when mother went out to find food, the monster sang the lullaby from the basement. The little boy heard the lullaby and opened the door.
The little boy from this tale is Gregory, the one who carries the crying child's memories. The story begins with the two living in isolation. A cabin in the dark woods. This setting reflects their hiding from the outside world within the ruined mega pizzaplex. The adult woman with the boy I suspect is Nessie from Help Wanted. From a previous theory I surmised that Nessie was possessed by Elizabeth Afton during her time interacting with the VR system while trying to restore old programs, recovered from the characters from Pizzeria Simulator, representing the caretaker figure as she tries to protect Gregory from those who would stop their plan. She is a protector but also someone harboring secrets. A tangled amalgamation of haunted animatronic parts and corrupted code, the tangle is what remains of Mike Afton, a broken soul who has been consumed by his family's sins, now trapped and barely human. A childhood song once sung by the Afton's mother to her children. The lullaby symbolizes a shared memory from their childhood, one that connects all the Afton children. Elizabeth acts as a maternal figure to Gregory, trying to shield him from the dangers lurking below, especially from the tangle, which she has locked away. The tangle, or Mike Afton, is confined. He is no longer the brother he once was, although is considered a threat. Elizabeth believes that keeping him contained is enough to ensure their safety. She tries to soothe Gregory with a lullaby. The lullaby itself is to comfort, originally sung by their mother to her own children, including Mike. This is the turning point. The tangle, once angry and violent, becomes quiet, not because it's tamed, but because it's learning. It hears the lullaby and recognizes it, not as a stranger would, but remembering a childhood experience. This detail implies a familial connection between Gregory and the monster. By singing the lullaby, the tangle lures Gregory. It wants to connect. The monster remembers who he was. Mike is released. No harm would come to Gregory. This story is about how even the most innocent, comforting things, like a lullaby, can become tools to restore a soul's identity. Mike remembered being that child when he heard the lullaby his mother sang for him decades ago. Mike found that part of his soul and could be made whole again.
Now let me tell you a story about a young woman who, when she was little, was led into a dark forest by a witch, and almost eaten. She had fallen for the friendly voice without discernment, and was led astray. She had escaped before being thrown into the oven, but would have a scar for the rest of her life. When she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch, and entered the forest again willingly, this time with the confidence of age and experience. She was greeted at the mouth of the forest by a young boy who offered to help guide her through the darkness. "Come," the boy said, "rest here before killing the witch." The young woman was tired, and would kill the witch in the morning. She followed the boy into the house. The oven door closed. The witch would finally have her meal.
In the Five Nights series, the reference to an oven keeps me coming back to the events of the fourth closet, in particular the furnace within the Circus Baby world. Within this story series, antagonist William Afton was once thrown into fire of the furnace. Emily survived that encounter when she escaped the room while being pursued by Elizabeth Afton. From that fight between Elizabeth and Charlie would be where they receive a permanent wound during the confrontation. The scar is literal, referencing to the damage both physically and emotionally received, where both were stabbed by Henry Emily's endoskeleton. This fable captures the tragic of Charlie Emily's story later in life, her quest for revenge. Once a victim, she grows to accept her adult form and a return to a Fazbear location to seek justice. Decades later, Charlie returns, not as a victim but as a hunter. She enters the dark forest again, symbolizing the mega pizzaplex with the intent to destroy Elizabeth once and for all. Symbolizing twisted and corrupted youth, Elizabeth possessing Nessie plays the role of the witch, deceptive and more experienced. Elizabeth's possession of Nessie is one I cover in a previous video. I suspect that Elizabeth possesses the tape girl Nessie during the testing of the VR game, released by Fazbear Entertainment. In Nessie's physical form, Elizabeth was at risk of injury from Charlie. From the fourth closet, we know that Charlie's animatronic adult form could lift a couch with ease. Elizabeth had lost that ability, so had to follow a different plan. Gregory represents the deceptive new generation, an innocent face who is likely to manipulate. In this story, he is a false guide, leading Charlie into danger. On the surface, he is helpful and trustworthy. Whether he is knowingly complicit or just a puppet remains ambiguous, but does seal Charlie's fate. In a twist, Charlie is betrayed once more, this time fatally. The oven or furnace, created by Henry that once was meant to destroy the haunted animatronics, now consumes Charlie. The witch wins. Elizabeth finally claims the meal she was once denied. This story is not just about revenge, it's about how trauma makes us return to the place that hurt us, believing we're stronger, only to be undone by a new face of the same evil. Charlie was scarred but not healed, and in the end, the witch still feasts.